All right, so you ready for this? Get ready to dive into one of football's most dramatic stories, the rise and fall of SSC Napoli.
Yeah, it's a story of incredible highs and, incredible lows.
We're talking about a team that went from the top of the world-winning Serie A with Maradona.
To the depths of bankruptcy just a few years later.
It's almost hard to believe.
Yeah, it really is. And I think the way I kind of see it is like Dante's Divine Comedy.
Oh, interesting.
You've got this Paradiso at the top, the bliss of victory, and then you descend through Purgatorio, this kind of period of decline and reckoning, and then ultimately into the Inferno financial ruin.
Okay, I like that analogy.
It helps to kind of frame the story.
Yeah, so you might be thinking, why should I care about some Italian football club's financial woes?
Right.
But trust me, this is about way more than just sports.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
We're talking about hero worship.
Huge part of this.
The dangers of overspending and a city's undying love for its team.
It's a story that has lessons for everyone, even if you've never watched a football match in your life.
Okay, so let's set the scene.
Okay.
Naples, 1987. The city is going absolutely crazy fireworks singing pure joy.
Yeah.
Napoli has just won their first ever Serie A title.
Can you imagine?
It must have been incredible.
Yeah.
So why was this such a monumental event?
Well, think about it. At the time, Italian football was dominated by the wealthy clubs up north.
Right.
This victory wasn't just about, a game. It was a southern Italian team finally breaking through, challenging the establishment.
A real David versus Goliath story.
Exactly.
And that's where Maradona comes in.
Oh, absolutely. You can't talk about Napoli's success without talking about Maradona.
I mean, I've seen pictures of murals in Naples with Maradona alongside San Gennaro, their patron saint.
It was that level of devotion. He was a god to them.
So he wasn't just a talented player, he was a symbol.
Exactly. He embodied the spirit of Naples. He was rebellious, charismatic, and incredibly gifted. A perfect symbol for a city that felt overlooked, underestimated.
But I mean, even with all that talent, all that passion, wasn't there a danger in building everything around one man?
Oh, absolutely. You're hitting on a key point here. Napoli's hopes and dreams, their entire identity became intertwined with one man.
And as we all know, even the greatest players are human.
Right. And this was the 80s. Italian football was entering its football Italia era, a period of, massive spending and fierce competition.
So you had this backdrop of extravagance, and then you have Napoli, a club that had just tasted incredible success, but was heavily reliant on one extraordinary but flawed individual.
Right.
What could possibly go wrong?
Well, let's just say that the seeds of Napoli's Purgatorio, a period of decline and reckoning, were already being sown even during those championship celebrations.
Oh, man, this is where things start to get interesting and a little bit heartbreaking, to be honest.
Yeah, for sure.
So let's talk about those cracks, those early signs of trouble. What should we be looking out for?
Okay, so while Napoli was basking in the glory of the Maradona era, cracks were starting to appear both in the club's finances and in Maradona himself. Let's talk about those cracks.
Well, first we need to jump forward a few years to the late 90s.
Remember, we're focusing on Napoli's journey to bankruptcy, and this is where the real drama unfolds. By 1998, Maradona was long gone, and Napoli was back in Serie A after a brief relegation. But things were far from stable.
Okay, so set the scene for us. What was happening at Napoli in 1998?
So picture this. You've got this club trying to recapture past glory, but struggling to find its footing. They bring in a new coach, Luigi Novellino, hoping for a revival. But it's a false dawn. The club is a shadow of its former self, both financially and in terms of performance.
So they're back in the big leagues, but clearly something's not right.
Right, and this is where the consequences of past decisions, those seeds of Purgatorio, really start to take root.
I love that we're peeling back the layers of history to see how everything connects.
It all ties together.
So as we delve into Napoli's financial ruin, we need to remember those extravagant spending habits of the football Italia years, right?
Absolutely. Napoli, like many other clubs, had overreached. They were living beyond their means, and the bills were coming due.
And I'm guessing Maradona's departure didn't exactly help their financial situation.
No. It certainly didn't. Losing their star player meant losing a massive source of revenue. But even before Maradona left, his personal struggles were starting to impact the club.
Right.
His well-documented battle with drug addiction and his alleged connections to organized crime created a constant cloud of controversy.
Wow. So they're dealing with financial strain, the loss of their talisman, and this dark undercurrent of Maradona's personal life.
It was a lot to handle.
It sounds like the walls are closing in.
Yeah, that's a great way to put it. And it only gets more intense from here.
Yeah.
Just as Napoli is trying to navigate these turbulent waters, a perfect storm of events hits them, pushing them closer to the abyss of bankruptcy.
Okay, I'm on the edge of my seat. What happens next? So we left off with Napoli, really struggling.
Yeah, trying to stay afloat.
Yeah, like a boat with holes.
Exactly. And instead of, patching those holes, they just kept adding more weight.
Oh, man.
Making these disastrous decisions, bad player signings, financial mismanagement.
Okay, so what kind of signings are we talking about? Give me an example.
Edmundo, does that ring a bell?
Oh, yeah, the Brazilian striker.
Incredibly talented.
Right.
But also known for, his unpredictable behavior, shall we say.
Right.
They spent a fortune to bring him in.
Yeah.
And he ended up playing a handful of games.
Ouch.
It was a gamble that just didn't pay off.
So risky bets on players who don't work out.
Yeah.
What about the financial side? What were they doing or not doing that was making things worse?
Well, they were stuck in this football Italia mindset, this idea that you could just buy your way to success.
Right.
And they weren't alone. A lot of Italian clubs were overspending at the time.
Yeah.
But for Napoli, with their existing financial strain, it was like pouring gasoline on a fire.
So they're bleeding money, making bad signings. The team's performance is obviously suffering. What's the atmosphere like in Naples at this point? I mean, the fans must have been furious.
Imagine the city that had once, celebrated Maradona like a deity.
Right.
Now watching their beloved club just crumble before their eyes.
Yeah.
The frustration was palpable. The stadium was literally falling apart. There were reports of players being threatened by angry fans.
Wow, it must have been intense for those players. But I get it. This wasn't just a game. It was about the pride of an entire city.
Absolutely. And that weight of those expectations, combined with the club's financial woes, created this perfect storm.
A recipe for disaster.
Exactly. And by 2004, the inevitable happened. Napoli was declared bankrupt.
Oh, wow.
Drowning in debt, they were forced to start over from scratch.
It's almost like a Greek tragedy, this fall from grace.
But you mentioned earlier that Napoli's story isn't just about despair, it's also about resilience.
That's the truly remarkable part, even in the darkest depths of Inferno,
Yeah.
The spirit of Napoli didn't die. The fans never gave up on their club. They continued to fill the stadium, even when the team was relegated to Serie C, the third tier of Italian football.
Wow. So even after bankruptcy, even after hitting rock bottom, the people of Naples never lost faith. It's a testament to the deep connection between the club and the city. Napoli is more than just a football team. It's a symbol of hope, of defiance, of the, indomitable spirit of the Neapolitan people.
And that unwavering support that played a crucial role in Napoli's eventual rebirth, right?
Absolutely, without a doubt. The fans kept the flame alive, even when it seemed like all was lost. And eventually, a new owner, Aurelio De Laurentiis, came along and saw the potential for a revival.
So Napoli's divine comedy doesn't end in Inferno.
Nope.
There's a glimmer of hope, a chance for redemption.
Exactly. But before we get to that, I think it's important to take a step back and really understand the magnitude of what happened. Imagine for a moment a club like Liverpool.
Okay.
With its, storied history, its global fan base going bankrupt and being forced to start over from the bottom.
Yeah, that's almost unthinkable.
It is, and
Yeah.
It's a stark reminder that even the most successful organizations, the ones that seem invincible, can be vulnerable to bad decisions and changing circumstances.
So it's a lesson that goes way beyond sports. So tell me about this rebirth. How did Napoli manage to claw their way back from the brink? All right, so Napoli hits rock bottom, bankruptcy, a new owner starting over in Serie C. What were those early days like? Rebuilding a club from the ground up can't be easy.
No, not at all. It's a massive undertaking. You have to rebuild trust with the fans, attract new talent on a really tight budget, and navigate the complexities of Italian football administration.
Sounds stressful.
Oh, yeah, it definitely wasn't smooth sailing. But De Laurentiis, he brought a fresh perspective and a willingness to do things differently. He rebranded the club as Napoli Soccer.
Napoli Soccer.
Interesting.
Yeah, a nod to a more international, business-minded approach.
Okay, so a fresh perspective.
Right.
But that's pretty bold considering how much the club is rooted in its traditions.
Yeah, it was a gamble.
Yeah.
But it wasn't just about the name De Laurentiis' focus on, building a sustainable financial model, avoiding the reckless spending that had brought the club down.
Right, makes sense.
And he also recognized the importance of nurturing young talent, investing in the club's youth academy. So smart business decisions and a commitment to the future. Did the fans buy into this new vision?
Well, remember that unwavering loyalty we talked about?
Yeah.
It was tested for sure, but ultimately they saw that De Laurentiis was serious about restoring Napoli to its former glory.
Okay.
They stuck with the team, even in Serie C, filling the stands, creating an atmosphere that's legendary even in the lower leagues.
Wow, that's commitment.
Oh yeah, and that support fueled Napoli's climb back up. They earned promotion back to Serie B in 2006, and just a year later, they were back in Serie A.
Back where they belong.
The prodigal son had returned.
So they're back in the top flight, but are they back to their winning ways? Can they recapture the magic of the Maradona era?
Well, matching that level of dominance is a tall order. But under De Laurentiis, Napoli has established itself as a consistent force in Italian football. They won the Coppa Italia challenge for the Scudetto and even competed in the Champions League.
So they may not have Maradona, but they found a new path to success. It's really an inspiring story.
Yeah, absolutely. Napoli's journey through Paradiso, Purgatorio, and Inferno, and back again shows us that even after the most devastating fall, redemption is possible.
It's a testament to their resilience.
But it takes more than just luck. It takes smart decisions, unwavering support, and a belief in something bigger than yourself.
Powerful stuff. So what can we, the listeners, take away from all of this? Because I'm feeling pretty inspired right now.
Well, I think Napoli's story shows us that even when we hit rock bottom, we have the power to pick ourselves up, dust ourselves off, and start climbing back toward the light.
It's a reminder that even in the darkest of times, hope is never truly lost.
Yeah, and sometimes the journey back from adversity can be even more rewarding than the initial victory.
That's a great point, and I think it's fitting that we end this deep dive with a question for you, the listener. How has Napoli's story resonated with you? What lessons about resilience, about financial responsibility, or about the power of community will you carry with you?
We'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments.
And until next time, keep exploring, keep learning, and keep diving deep